Hello everyone, so this is second ARC Ethics and Governance and this is chapter 6, that is systemic reforms, right? And again, just like chapter 2 and 3, this chapter 6 is also very large, so we'll be covering it in two parts. So this is the first part, right? Okay, and here see, the thing is we have to understand the first of all the outline of chapter 6. So there are 17 topics in chapter 6 and chapter 6 is very means intriguing kind of a chapter. You will like it because ARC has simplified it, and there are lots and lots of facts in chapter 6. You can always note it down because it will help a lot, right? So let's start. Okay, now see, the thing is in the first para only of this particular chapter, ARC has given a definition, or in fact they have given an equation which is monopoly plus discretion minus accountability will give you corruption, right? And who has said this? American economist Robert Klitgaard has said this, and ARC has written it in their particular thing. So you can always write this particular thing, that monopoly plus discretion minus accountability is corruption. Now what is discretion? Discretion means when you are acting on your own will, so that is your discretion. When you have read polity, you must have read about governor's discretionary power, president's discretionary power. So that is discretion, when you are acting on your own. So if you have a monopoly and you are acting on your own and you have no accountability at all, then what it will lead to? It will lead to corruption, right? Okay. So let's talk about the first topic. So the first topic is importance of systemic reforms. Why do we need change in our system? Why do we need change in not only our system but even the subsystems? What is subsystem? So the components which is comprising a system is subsystem or our subsystem, right? So why do we need the change? Status quo is always So there is a very important quote which was given by Manmohan Singh. He said that people always prefer status quo. So that's why when 1991 LPG reforms were being carried out, so it also faced opposition, right? So status quo is always liked by everybody, but we need systemic reforms. The status quo will not do here. So what is this need for systemic? What is the importance of systemic reforms? We'll talk about in this particular topic. Plus how we can what are the measures? So there are two measures which will lead to holistic approach. So the two measures are punitive measures as well as preventive measures. Punitive measures means that if you do something wrong, you will be punished. So it acts as a deterrent. So only punitive measures will not do. Now you have to understand, systemic reform is a punitive measure or preventive measure. It is actually a preventive measure. Preventive measure means it will reduce opportunity for corruption. It will not even give you an opportunity, right? So it is done to prevent, right? Just like preventive healthcare, right? So it is systemic reform is a preventive measure because it will reduce opportunity for corruption by making system transparent, by increasing its accountability, by reducing discretion, by making the whole process or procedure rational, right? So this is how and that is the whole thing. So these punitive as well as preventive measures both are needed for systemic reforms, and systemic means both are needed for overhauling the whole system, and systemic reform is a kind of preventive measure, right? Fine. Now what are the recent initiatives which is promoting systemic reforms, or which are examples of systemic reforms? So railway passenger booking. Earlier what used to happen in the morning when you need a Tatkal ticket or something like that, we saw a long line, right? Long passenger line waiting for the Tatkal ticket, and people used to sleep at night. That was the scenario. But now situations have changed drastically because of railway passenger booking. Now when we will see in the upcoming slide, which is the biggest e-passenger reform or e-governance reform which has been implemented on a nationwide scale. We'll talk about that. So railway passenger booking is one of the greatest example of systemic reforms. Similarly, there were e-cops. E-cop scheme is there in Punjab. E-cops means you don't have to go to the police station to register a complaint. You can file it online. E-cop, e-governance, eSeva is there in Andhra Pradesh. It is helping 13 states. So we will again talk about eSeva in upcoming slides also. Then rural kiosk is there, which will provide rural services, internet services. Kiosk is a small, kind of a box. How can I say it so that you can understand? Kiosk is something very small where you're doing all kind of transactions. You must have seen it even when demonetization was happening. Kiosks were there which were allowing you to transact money on all those things. Just understand, it is a small it ensures reach of eSeva in rural areas, and kiosk is a small electronic I'm not getting the word right now, but kiosk is a small setup which will facilitate e-transactions to a greater extent. So it is a small setup, right? Again, e-cops, we know what is e-cops. Now, the thing is, what are the things which are preventing systemic reforms, and what are the things which are fertile grounds for corruption? So, lack of transparency is one of the fertile grounds for corruption. Weak accountability mechanism because of too much hierarchy. That is a reason, or that is one of the fertile grounds of corruption or for corruption. Complex bureaucratic procedures. So, all these things are leading to corruption. All these things are preventing systemic reforms, right? So, the thing is, to prevent corruption, we need systemic reforms, and it goes in a vice versa order, right? So we need large-scale reforms of both systems as well as procedures, right? And for that we need in-depth study of each of government functions, and that's why we are reading ARC, because ARC will give you a holistic idea regarding what are the changes which we need in our system and how we will bring those changes, right? Okay, so this was about importance of systemic reform. Now let's talk about promoting competition. If you promote competition, it is also a way of bringing systemic reforms. So the thing is, in many areas there is monopoly of government, right? But there were two successful initiatives which were carried out. What were these two successful initiatives? First was demonopolization in telecom sector, and second was growing role of private players in providing direct marketing services to farmers outside the government controlled mandis in Madhya Pradesh. Right. So the thing is, in telecom sector, till recently, government had a monopoly, and it led to large-scale corruption. Right. Now the thing is, DOT, Department of Telecommunication, was earlier carrying out the whole operation. It was a policy maker as well as it was providing services, and there were large-scale corruption. But now it is now DOT is only a policy maker, and it has been separated from the provision of services. Similarly, when we are talking about Madhya Pradesh, so there was an act which was Agriculture Produce Marketing Act 1972 of Madhya Pradesh, and what did this act provided? So according to this act, only the traders of officially designated mandis were permitted to buy the produce from farmers, right? So the thing is, there was a collusion. We have talked a lot about collusive corruption and coercive corruption, right? So do read about it, and time and again it will come. So the thing is, earlier farmers were told that they can they can sell their produce to designated mandis and to designated officers, right? But the thing is, these officials of mandis and traders, they colluded and they cheated farmers by paying them less than the fair price. So this was happening. But now the act has been amended, and now farmers and traders can transact business outside the mandi. So there is no need that you have to go to that specific mandi and there only you can sell. So farmers and traders can meet outside also, and they can do the selling outside only also. So this has also led to reduction in corruption. But the thing is, we always talk about privatize this, privatize that, but mere deregulation, this is about deregulation. When you do deregulation, you kind of privatize certain aspects, right? But the thing is, mere deregulation will not do. Right now, public services is corrupting, right? A public institution is involved in corruption. Maybe in future, private institution will be involving in corruption. Who knows, right? So you need to have a regulatory mechanism or regulation mechanism, right? So that is the need. Understand this. Privatization is not the panacea. Privatization cannot solve the whole issue, right? So deregulating one area may increase corruption elsewhere, and private agencies which replace government in service delivery may be even more corrupt. So such demonopolization and competition should be accompanied by a regulation mechanism to protect public interest. So that is the whole thing. Now what is the ARC recommendation? So ARC is saying that every government department should identify areas where monopoly can be eliminated and where competition can be introduced. They have given too many recommendations. I have summarized it for you, and that is it. You don't need to do PhD on this, right? So this is 6.2, promoting competition. So let's talk about 6.3, that is simplifying transactions. Simplifying transaction means right now we run here and there. If even we have to do a single work, we have to go to multiple offices, right? So this is not simplifying transactions. This is exact opposite of it, right? And why it is happening? Because we have elaborate hierarchies, we have complex work methods, there's a diffusion of responsibility, and because of these overcrowding, people jump the queues, people do corruption, people do collusion, get involved in collusion, coercive corruption. If you remove these hierarchies, if you set a proper accountability mechanism, all these things will help in reducing corruption. So multiplicity of layers in every decision making process, and it causes delays and corruption. And what happens if you have a corruption in particular layer? Then you make if you have a corruption in say n layer, then you make n plus 1 layer to remove corruption in n layer, and this way the layers keep on increasing and corruption doesn't reduce. So whenever abuse of authority is noticed, Another layer of administration is added in the hope that it would act as a check. Each additional layer adds to the delay and adds to the corruption. So it will not serve the purpose if you keep on increasing the layers, right? Now, single window clearance system. We have talked about single window clearance system. Right now, we will also try to understand the mechanism behind it. So, single window clearance system, it is a one-stop service center. It simplifies procedure and it reduces layers. But what is single window clearance system? You cannot implement single window clearance system if you don't have an automated backup of all the related offices. So let's take an example. So suppose you go to a bank, right? And you said that you want to deposit some money. They type something on the keyboard and your money is getting deposited. So they are having an automated backup of all the related offices where they are checking what is your previous account, where is your account located. All these things are done. So automated backup is needed for having a single window clearance. It's not like it's a magic and everything is getting sorted out at one place. No. Automated backup is the need of the hour for single window clearance system. Similarly, there is a mechanism called positive silence sanction. What is a positive silence sanction? It is important. Understand it, because if you have not read it in ARC, you won't be understanding what is positive silence sanction. So positive silence sanction means it deems sanction of an application upon expiry of stipulated period for such sanction. So you have sent in your vehicle means whatever, anything you have sent to an office and you wanted the permission, right? And if there is a stipulated time period that within 30 days they have to provide the permission or reject it. If they don't do anything in 30 days, your permission is deemed, means your approval or your application has been deemed to be passed. So this is positive silence sanction. So they are saying that this can be applied. And actually this is applied in certain areas. Now in Andhra Pradesh there is an eSeva model, and eSeva offers the services of some 13 states and local government organization, as well as 3 central government organization and 9 private sector organization under one roof. Do go to eSeva website. You will see lots and lots of things. So it is good. They are providing too many services and they are in a way doing systemic reform and facilitating everything, right? And what are the services which are provided by eSeva? So this is an example of simplifying transaction. So if something comes on the on e-governance or something like that, see, e-governance is another report of ARC, but here also with this particular thing, because it is talking about systemic reforms and simplifying transactions, so we will be involving ourselves with certain e-governance initiatives. So what are the services provided by eSeva? So it includes payment of public service bills, provision of birth and death certificates, payment of property tax, train and bus reservation, private mobile bill payments, receipt of passport application, transfers of etc, etc. So lots and lots of things they are doing, and by doing this they are simplifying transactions, right? Now what are the recommendations of ARC? So see, ARC has this, means when you will read this, you will laugh, because ARC has made some jokes. What they are saying that don't use these kind of phrases like as far as possible, suitable decision may be taken. All these things leads to ambiguity, so avoid these phrases. So right, and what are other recommendations? They are saying that broad principles of reforms are needed. We need to adopt SWS. What is SWS? Single window system, right? We need to minimize hierarchical tiers. We need to set time limits, right? And existing departmental manuals and codes need to be reviewed and simplified periodically, and it should be updated, and it should have less discretion. And how it can have less discretion? By removing these phrases which I have written in this PowerPoint: as far as possible, suitable decision making may be taken. This is stupidity, nothing else, right? You cannot write these things. And this is actually, by saying this, Veerappa Moily and all those members who has framed second RC, they were legislatures only. So by writing these things, they are making a mockery of the legislature only, right? So this is fine. So let's talk about 6.4, that is using information technology, using IT. IC means IT. So yeah, IT or ICT. ICT is information and communication technology. So ICT can transform and redefine processes and systems of governance. And what are the 3 visible outcomes? So what are the outcomes of ICT? It will lead to access to information. It will lead to MIS. MIS is Management Information System. Management Information System is again when you are taking a decision or taking a decision based on the information which you are getting on an e-platform, right? So that is Management Information System. E-service delivery. So these 3 things, again, access to information, MIS and e-service delivery are the 3 visible outcomes of ICT. Another thing is e-governance is the next logical step in ICT to ensure participation in decision making, right? So if you want to have implement a certain scheme in a certain district or certain block, then what you can do, you can just what do you say, distribute that particular information or propagate that particular information in that district using e-governance, right? And there you can say, tell those particular people to come to a particular kiosk and what do you say, whatever they want, they either want that particular scheme to be implemented or not, they can vote it. They can vote it or they can type it yes or no and all those things. So this is an example of participatory governance which can be facilitated by e-governance, right? So e-governance can make this whole democracy more participative or participatory, right? So again, what are the examples? What are the examples of where we have used ICT or IT? So Gyandoot project in Madhya Pradesh and Bhoomi project in Karnataka. But it's not like all the ICT projects are successful. But first of all, let's talk about Gyandoot project. So what is Gyandoot project? It seeks to provide information about prevailing agriculture produce prices at auction centers and easier processes for obtaining copies of land records. So it seeks to provide this. And the best part about this, and how are they trying to do that? They are trying to do that through kiosk. So again, we have talked about kiosk. Do look for Google images of kiosk, so you will understand what is a kiosk. Okay, the thing is, they again, let's rewind. So they seeks to provide info about prevailing agriculture produce prices at auction centers and easier processes for obtaining copies of land accounts which are connected to intranet, right? And entire cost of this whole thing is borne by PRIs, that is Panchayati Raj institutions. Now, what is intranet and what is internet? What is the difference between intranet and internet? By internet, you are connected to the whole world. By intranet, you are confining yourself to a particular locality, right? So the thing is, using internet, you can access intranet, but not vice versa. So that is the difference between internet and intranet. And both are not same, right? Now, again, let's talk about Bhoomi project of Karnataka. So in that case, and what is land record? Why do we need land record? Why do farmers need land record? See, for sometimes when they want to avail a loan, these records are needed. So that's why by making making land records easily accessible to them, you are helping them to a greater extent. Similarly, in Bhoomi project in Karnataka, land records were computerized. Similarly, and see, this is from the farmer's point of view why land records are needed. From governance perspective, land records are needed so that when you talk about consolidation of land holdings and all those things, for that you need land records. If you don't have land records, the government does not have land record, they cannot do these consolidations, right? So the thing is, yeah, so in Bhoomi project, land records were computerized. So now there is no need to pay bribes to obtain land records, right? But the thing is, again, we have talked now that not all ICT projects are successful. And why they fail? Because sometimes manpower are not equipped to deal with those IT techniques or technologies, right? So existing administrative structures and processes should be re-engineered to make them adapt ICT. Challenge is to upscale and replicate it on large scale. And there are bottlenecks. Infrastructure is an issue. Skills of personnel is an issue, right? So again, So again, IRC is saying one very important thing. What are they saying? That there are very few e-governance projects which has a nationwide impact. So let's take an example. Tell me an example of an e-governance project which has a nationwide impact. The answer is railway reservation system. So you can say that even though we are talking too much about e-governance, this, that, but there are very few e-governance projects according to second ARC which had a nationwide impact. The exception is railway reservation system. Okay. Now what is the ARC recommendation? So ARC is saying that all departments should draw plans for using IT. Second, they are also saying that re-engineering the present structure and process. Re-engineering means change it, frame it, means frame accordingly. If you need Microsoft Office and all those things, all these things are small part, but re-engineering means try to engineer it or try to change the whole structure to a certain extent, or try to redesign it, reframe it. So that is re-engineering. Similarly, they are also saying that NIC should build the skills of personnel. NIC is National Informatics Center. So generally the government websites, most of the government websites are made by NIC. And I will give you one more thing. So suppose you have done BTech in computer science now. So NIC is one of those public sector organizations which these computer science graduates look for, right? Because there are very few public sector organizations in computer science branch. So NIC is one such public sector organization. You can see that, and you can see NIC logo in lots of government websites, right? So again, this was 6.4. Now let's talk about promoting transparency. So again, the classical example is RTI, and they have talked about it in first report. So they are not talking too much here. They are saying that transparency means that process of decision making and working are open to public scrutiny, and public's participation means increases if you have transparency, and it should be done at grass level democracy. So that will help a lot. RTI is helping. RTI is doing everything it can to remove the demerits of Official Secrets Act. Okay, now again, we'll not talk too much about here because they have not talked too much here regarding promoting transparency. You can read the first report. Now let's talk about 6.6, which is Integrity Pact. First of all, what is Integrity Pact? This is very important because again, if you don't read this thing in ARC, you won't understand what is Integrity Pact. So Integrity Pact is an agreement between public agency procuring goods and the bidder for a public contract, declaring that no bribes are transacted and overseen and scrutinized by independent outside observer. What does it mean? Suppose, so there is a public agency like ONGC and some other bidders have come that they want to sell this particular thing to ONGC. So if they make an agreement and they show that in whatever transaction they have done, in that no bribe was transacted, so that agreement is called Integrity Pact, which is happening between a public agency which is procuring goods and the bidder for a public contract. So the thing is, it is what is the example of such Integrity Pact? So ONGC has done an MOU with Transparency International India and CVC in 2006. But most of the companies don't prefer to do it. Why? Because it is not yet in the legal framework. So, but ARC is saying that make it a legal framework. Because see what will happen. It is something similar to or akin to when we are saying that I will not commit, means I will not take bribes or I will not say a lie and all those things. So this is similar to when companies saying that they will not take a bribe. So when they just not say it, they make an agreement and they say that in that agreement that they have not taken any bribe. So that is an Integrity Pact. So you are saying that you will maintain the integrity of the organization, right? Fine. So again, ARC recommendation is that this Integrity Pact should be given a place in legal framework. Now 6.7, and this is the last one for today, is reducing discretion. So reducing discretion means that generally what happens now when you are at the lower level in government sectors or something. So these transfer, promotion and all those things, there lots of discretion is there. Your promotion, your transfer will depend on the, what do you say, on your superior, right? So that is not dependent on how competent you are. That is dependent to a certain extent on how much you are, what do you say, running after your superior, right? So the thing is, but there are certain things which are done. So here in Karnataka, there was a system of transfer of teachers. So that was done online, and that proved very successful, right? So that has led to the thing that automation is a way forward. So there are lastly number of government activities where discretion can be totally eliminated. They can be automated by IT, right? So example, registration of births and deaths, etc. and all those things. So what is the ARC recommendation? ARC is saying that decision making is an important matter, and decision making on important matters where promptness is not required. See, where promptness is required, you need individuals to take decision. But if you have a certain amount of time, then what you can do is, what ARC is saying that decision making on important matters where promptness is not required should be assigned to a committee rather than individuals. So this is right, man, this is 23-minute long video. Sorry for that, but this chapter is long. So again, in the next topic, in the next particular part, we'll complete the 6th chapter, and after that there will be one video only, and in that we'll complete 7, 8 and 9 chapter, because those are small chapters. Thank you.